FFEL loan options are a type of loan that a lot of people don't have anymore, but the folks that do have it borrowed before 2010. Now, this type of loan, a lot of it, really kind of receded after the big IDR account adjustment that occurred during 2022 to 2024. And the reason is you can consolidate this type of loan and get credit based off of how long you've been in any kind of repayment whatsoever, instead of just how long were you on an income-based repayment plan. So there are some loans of this kind still outstanding. If you have one of those types of loans, I'm going to talk what your repayment and forgiveness options are after the IDR account adjustment, and what to think about in terms of how to pay as little as possible on this type of loan that exists before 2010. And you might even say, how do I even know if I have this? Well, if you have a type of loan that doesn't say direct on it, and it's a student loan that shows up on studentaid.gov, then you have one of these kinds of loans. So for borrowers before 2010, you definitely need to watch this to see whether or not you could do something that saves you money on this type of loan. So let's take a look and see what these options are. So FFEL loan stands for Federal Family and Education Loan Program. And this type of loan, again, is from pre-2010. It's a type of loan that was guaranteed by the government, that was issued by private lenders, and the Department of Education bought a lot of these types of loans back. And so that's why you have two kinds of different loans. So you have commercially held, which is kind of owned by some sort of Navient or like student loan trust kind of thing. Those are true commercially held private FFEL loans. And those are not as good as the federally held kind, which is the kind that the Department of Education bought back from a lot of these lenders. So if you have this type of loan, let's talk first about consolidation, pros and cons. So when you consolidate, what I mean by that is you can transfer it to the federal government directly. So you can create a direct federal loan, and you do that at studentaid.gov. And if you do this, you've taken your old type of loan and turned it into a new type of loan. And so there's a lot of big considerations for this. If you have a loan that's FFEL that's owned by Department of Education, it's a lot more of a no-brainer. If you have a commercially held loan, it's a little bit up in the air exactly as to what happens after the IDR account adjustment. So, I think that I would still go ahead and consolidate in almost every case, but there is some benefit to thinking really carefully about what to do if you have a commercially held FFEL loan, just because of uncertainty around a lot of the rules going forward after the Biden administration's big changes that they made to student loan regs. So you might think for these FFEL loan, a lot of these loans I've seen, they have like 2 or 3% interest rates. You might say, well, should I do an extended repayment option? I'll tell you that that's usually not worth it in this case, because what you can do instead is consolidate the loan and essentially reset the amortization schedule. So what I mean by that is, I'm just going to write some quick math here. Let's just say you had a $100,000 loan, and let's say your monthly payment is something like, like $700 a month. And then let's say that $100,000 loan has been paid down to, $50,000 or something like that. And you might have let's say you have a 3% interest rate because you consolidated some sort of Sallie Mae type of loan in like the mid 2000s, right? So you might say, well, $700 a month at 3%, it's no big deal. But the thing is you could reconsolidate this new lower amount of $50,000 right here. And then you could set that monthly payment to what is basically the 30 years consolidation schedule. And so that might be maybe like $400. So if you want to keep a low interest rate, you can keep your low interest rate by consolidating FFEL loans into direct loans, and you can also reset your repayment schedule. And you might say, well, that's terrible. Why would I want to stretch out my repayment term? Well, if you have a very low interest rate, with interest rates being really high in the economy, that might make sense because you're locking in a very low interest rate. You could just go put money in a savings account and get more interest that way, right? So those are some different situations to consider. Usually it's not worth doing an extended repayment schedule on this type of loan, but it could be. Now, you can also take these FFEL loans and blend them in with other kinds of loans. So with the new weighted average consolidation rules, if you mix up a bunch of loans together, your one big consolidation loan will have a weighted average of all the repayment history that you've done and all the loans total. And so this kind of takes away the need to think about it really carefully. You could kind of mix everything up and then have one big consolidated loan and just be done with it, and then just pay that with whatever the lowest payment option is. Or if you don't have that much debt relative to your income, you can, of course, pay it down really quickly and just be done with it. The last big point I've got for you is you really do need to think hard about what kind of loan you have. So the ones owned by the Department of Education will take place, will benefit from any of the new stuff that Department of Education does in the future. Like, I know we would be shocked if there was another student loan pause, but if there was, you would want to have those loans owned by Department of Education so that it would benefit from it. Keep in mind, during the pandemic era student loan pause that lasted for so many years, that was only benefiting people if they had loans owned by Department of Ed. So if you know what kind of loan you have, that's kind of half the battle, right? And if you have FFEL loans, it's probably a great idea to get a plan on them. You can go to studentloanplanner.com/book to get a customized plan for your specific situation, because it can be pretty complicated. And of course, if you have any comments, we'd love to hear those. If you want to post them here on the video, we'd love to see what's on your mind about your FFEL loans. And thank you for watching Student Loan Planner. Hope you subscribe to our channel.